Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, we are from Group 3, Class 267. We'll do presentation about implementation of tree topology with two servers. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Syarifah Aini. Next. IP address is a unique addressing system for each host connect to a TCP or IP-based network such as the internet, so that when a datagram is sent, the IP address information that the datagram reference in order to get to the intent device. The intent device can be a computer which is connected to the network through wired or wireless media. In this case, there is a form of relationship structure between computers in a network or topology, one of which we use is a tree topology with two IP classes, namely class A and C. Next. At the beginning of the IP address design, IP addresses are divided into several classes. IP classes are distinguished by the number of network ID bits. Each class has a different number of networks and a different number of hosts on each network. The division of IP addresses based on this class has begun to abandon, was replaced by the CIDR or classless interdomain routing system. Class A IP address is used for large-scale networks. The first bits in a Class A IP address are always set to a value of 0. The second bits to the 8 bits are a network identifier. The remaining 24 bits, or the last 3 octets, represent the host identifier. With the number of host identifiers up to 24 bits, it means that Class A has 16,777,214 hosts. Class B is used for medium to large-scale networks. The first 2 bits in the first octet of a Class B IP address are usually binary numbers 10. The next 14 bits are the network identifier. The remaining 16 bits represent the host identifier. Class B IP addresses have 65,534 hosts. Class C used for small-scale networks. The first 3 bits are binary 110. Then the next 21 bits are network identifiers, and the remaining 8 bits represent the host identifier. That way, the Class C IP address has 254 hosts for each network. Class D is an IP address allocation provided only for multicast IP addresses. Next.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Zazqi Azzahra from class 267, group 3. I will explain the implementation of topology configuration in Cisco section. Tree topology is combination of star topology with bus topology because the two connections are in the same network into a collection of star topology that have been connection with bus topologies. So that for one client will be grouped in one group to be used as a communication center. An existing communication center will later be connected to another communication center by simply using a main tools and cables.
My name is Novridayanti. Here I will explain the tree topology circuit. I use 12 PC, 4 switch, 2 router, and 2 server, where each switch has 3 PC. The fourth switch with the default gateway is 192.168.20.1, and the IP of each PC is 192.168.20.2 to 192.168.20.4. The second switch with the default gateway is 192.168.30.1, and IP for each PC is 192.168.30.2 to 192.168.30.4. The third switch with the default gateway is 192.168.2.1, and the IP of each PC is 192.168.2.2 to 192.168.2.4. The fourth switch with the default gateway is 192.168.3.1, and IP for each PC is 192.168.3.2 to 192.168.3.4. Each PC connected to switch use a stray cable. The first and second switch are connected to router 1, then 3 and 4 switch connected to router 2. All switch connected to the router use stray cable. Here, I use IP 30.30.30.1 for router 1 and 30.30.32 for IP router 2. Then each router will be connected to each router using a crossover cable. Router 1 will be connected to server 1 with the default gateway 10.10.10.1 and IP 10.10.10.2. Then router 2 is connected to server 2 with the default gateway 20.20.20.1 and IP 20.20.20.2. Each router is connected with a crossover cable. Next. This is the ping result from switch 1 to each switch and server. Here are the result of switch 1 to switch 2, switch 1 to switch 3, switch 1 to switch 4, switch 1 to server 2, and switch 1 to server 1. Next. The ping result from switch 2 to each switch and server. Here are the result of switch 2 to switch 1, switch 2 to switch 3, switch 2 to switch 4, switch 2 to server 2, and switch 2 to server 1. Next. The ping result from switch 3 to each switch and server. Here are the result of switch 3 to switch 1, switch 3 to switch 2, switch 3 to switch 4, switch 3 to server 2, and switch 3 to server 1. Next. The ping result from switch 4 to each switch and server. Here are the result of switch 4 to switch 1, switch 4 to switch 2, switch 4 to switch 3, switch 4 to server 2, and switch 4 to server 1. Next. The ping result from server to each switch and server. Here are the result of server 2 to switch 1, server 2 to switch 2, server 2 to switch 4, server 2 to switch 3, and server 2 to server 1. Next. The ping result from server 1 to each switch and server. Here are the result of server 1 to switch 1, server 1 to switch 2, server 1 to switch 3, server 1 to switch 4, and server 1 to server 2.
Well, that's our presentation today. Thank you for all your attention. Have a nice day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.